you there to start the show. You know. Yeah. Oh.
Hey, way there. Yeah. Hi, welcome to It's Happening Show,
Hey.
Community Grassroots Media
Hey, guys.
for the people, by the people. I'm Joesé, Gloria.
And I'm Dylan Thompson. We're your hosts tonight.
Tonight.
Or whenever you're watching.
Yes. It's Happening is a movement of the art and of the mind. The heart and the art and the mind. It's the energy of the universe
You
that
can't get art off your mind, man.
can't stop, won't stop. Woo! That creates waves inside us and all around us, which allows us to activate, motivate, vibrationally and intellectually towards love, truth, justice, and wisdom. It's happening in every which way.
It's Happening is a culture of empowerment. It's people having the right to exist and participate as equals. It's a dream of what the world could be. But, you know, the future we want is only possible if we make it happen. So stand up, get informed, and fight back.
Are you okay? You could be anywhere in the world right now, but you're here with us, so we thank you because of you.
It's happening.
Yeah.
Woo.
Woohoo.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a really long time. It's been like, I don't know. It's been like 8% of a year since we've done the show. You know,
It's been like years, man.
it feels like it, you know.
Yeah. How about the moon? It's a harvest moon out there.
Oh.
And how enjoy as we celebrate life
Yes,
and
indeed.
future and all things happening with the happening people around us. Speaking of happening people, we're just going to get right to it. We got Anaheim Councilman, Los Amigos President, and all-around badass, the one and only Dr. Joesé F. Moreno.
Woo!
Yeah, our most biggest
Most frequent
guest.
Possibly. We
Yeah.
need to get our statistician on that, but
You're the MFG, my G. So how do you feel?
Am I the Jay Leno of your Tonight Show? Is that it?
Yes, exactly. That's another one. Yeah.
see, yeah.
Frequent guest.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're threatening to take over.
I'm your Justin Timberlake to your Jimmy Fallon.
There we go. That's perfect.
I'm like, all right,
That's
we
perfect.
gotta have analogies that fits all the sectors here. The young, everybody. Yeah. So thank you for being here on the show once again, and thank you for the shout out on the 200 show. Appreciated that. Yeah, and so let's just get into it. You, sir, have been working hard for the people of Anaheim for several years now, but it appears that by the luck of the draw, the short stick, literally, you're terming out. It appears from your council seat. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir. I am terming out. The charter says folks can serve 2 terms on council, which is 4 years.
But you served
we
6.
Moved our charter. Yeah, when we added council seats and went to the district election, there needed to be like an alignment year. So that meant that one of the 4 council members elected in 2016 needed to pull and see which one comes up in 2 years to then allow every 2 years, 3 council members every 2 years, right? So it's staggered. So I had the good fortune or misfortune, depending on your perspective, to draw the short to get my number called.
Yeah, I remember
So that first term was 2 years, so I had to run again, and this is considered my second term under the city's legal interpretation.
Right.
Man, I can almost guess that the mayor Sadu and all of his friends are just like woo, yeah. You don't got to deal with his very intelligent remarks that you have to find a way to wiggle around in responding or not responding. So you will be missed by the people, good sir, but as far as being on council, but you're not going nowhere. because yeah, you're all doing all sorts of work. But before we get into, what's next for Dr. Moreno, what is current as far as what you've been dealing with? I know you've been very much on top of speaking up about the needs of the residents of your ward or of your district, but all of Anaheim when it comes to COVID funds and such. Last time we had you on the show, I believe you spoke to that. But how's it been? I just saw in the news that California numbers are the lowest in the nation. But how are we doing in Anaheim?
So it's all contextual, right? So yeah, as a state, we're doing better than the rest of the country. And as a county, we're doing okay in relation to the rest of the state, although not great. But within our context here in Orange County, Anaheim and Santana are still experiencing relatively higher rates, almost 2 to 3 times higher than other cities. So it's still hitting us pretty hard, relatively speaking. And so we still see the huge health inequities. And as much as folks may have come late to the party to recognize, we gotta figure something out here, it is extremely infuriating. I'll say that in our city's leadership and political leadership, and I want to distinguish the political leadership from the staff, but the political leadership was just so. It's just as it is in Anaheim for the most part. It's so focused on making Anaheim look good, like everything's under control. Disneyland, we're like immune from everything that hits the rest of the world because we have Disneyland and the Angel, and that just didn't play out to be true. We look at the social determinants of health, and along with the city of Santana, we are the place that people live to serve the rest of Orange County. For us, is to serve the resort along with Santana, because a lot of resort workers live in Santana, and Garden Grove and Orange. So when your city disproportionately serves the rest of the county, and the rest of the county wants their services open, then yeah, you will be disproportionately hit. And then with lack of affordable housing in our city, along with Santana, overcrowded housing conditions means essential workers, 2 or 3 families in an apartment or an apartment building that go to work, come back. It's hard to social distance, hard to sustain just really tight public health controls. So yeah, we were absolutely more susceptible. And the county and frankly our city political leadership acted like they were surprised by that. But what do you do when you realize that your city's getting hit hard by COVID? You put your COVID vaccination and testing sites at Disneyland instead of where people actually live, and take the testing and the vaccinations out the neighborhood until the first wave, which, I can go on for days on that, but essentially we got hit by all of the poverty, the lack of access to healthcare, and the lack of serious care and interest by our political leadership on the day-to-day, on the folks who do the day-to-day work.
Yeah, and there is some money made available from like federal programs or whatever. What's the status of are we still working through those funds? Are there more on the horizon? Are they being proportionately shared to the communities that need it?
So unlike other cities where they actually had a public discussion of what we want to do with these federal care dollars, Anaheim, we received, based on the formulas, $114 million of federal aid to help us. There was no debate, no real discussion. It was folded into the budget, the annual budget. And basically it's like, look, this is to shore up our deficit. We had a deficit of 75 to 90, sometimes 100 million, I think it is varied week to week, but we used all of it to backfill our debt, our deficit.
Right.
And so where in other cities, they were really thinking, okay, how do we use this money? Yeah, we're going to use some of it for our deficit, but others is just to create and sustain public health measures in the city, or to start building some public health measures or more healthy neighborhoods and and spaces, not Anaheim. Anaheim is all about deficit spending
Wow.
to shore it up. What's worse is that on top of the 114 million that goes straight into our deficit for the next 2 years, because we get our allotment in 2 years, in 2 installments, 57 million this year, 57 million next year for the federal government. Every city went through that. Our city council, in its wisdom, I say that facetiously, ended up borrowing $140 million to help us in the short and medium term with our deficits. Why do we have such high deficits? We have over $1.6 billion in liabilities with our pension of largely fire and police. It ain't the secretary's pension that's killing us. It's fire and police pensions that have been very, very generous over the past decades.
Right.
Borrowing for the millions of dollars in that resort bond, the convention center, they took out $140 million about 6 years ago. So we're paying that off to the tune of $60 million a year. And now we have this other new debt of $140 million, plus a very generous police contract that was just approved by the city council just when COVID was hitting. And that police contract gives our police officers an 11% raise over the next 6 years. But the president of the union, we now pay for his salary to be president of the police association. And he personally gets a 17% salary increase, more than his own members. And the city council gleefully approved that despite my objection. And in the staff report, this was pre-COVID, the staff report said to pay that contract, we would have to dip into our reserve dollars. So I'm anxious to read the state report that just came out that says that Anaheim is fiscal cliff. We are one of the few cities identified statewide that looks like we're going to be in dire financial straits over the next couple years. So of course, Anaheim is saying nothing to see here.
Yeah, I'm sure it's, a man like yourself that's really focused on details and, making sure that things make sense and and the interest of the people are being taken into consideration when making these decisions. It's another level of frustration. Like frustrated does not is not the word, and we have to make perhaps a creative word, but like frustrated with the kleptocracy and the lack of transparency and just full on naked corruption that is going on hand in hand between many of the elected officials on council and the decisions that they're making that is going to benefiting their donors, but is going to get on the residents and the taxpayers of Anaheim on the hook for millions and millions of dollars in the future that will need to paid up. But as long as they keep winning campaigns, and then nothing happens. And I just was reading that they speaking of campaign donations, they spent 3 times as much as they did in the previous cycle to elect their council. Is that true? So then what, like that sounds like a lot probably, right? In hundreds of thousands, perhaps a couple million. But compared to how much money that these entities are getting in the hundreds of millions, it seems like a drop in the bucket, right?
It's what in business they call tremendous ROI, return on investment. If you're Disney and you're looking to get, which they did back for years, hundreds of millions of dollars in subsidies, luxury hotels built with subsidies, a 45-year tax exemption back in 2015. So for you, if you're going to save $800, $600 million in the long term in having to pay taxes or to invest in the city through those taxes, what's it worth to you to put in $2 million to make sure that you don't have to that you get those $800 million? If you're Artie Moreno and you want to buy 153 acres of primetime land that's worth $800 million or so, depending on your analysis, but $600 to $800 million.
Wow. But
if you're going to get it for $300 million, why wouldn't you invest $1 million into an election to make sure that you get $300 million plus on value on the land?
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm gonna be honest. I went to the. What happened? My producer just.
What just happened?
Yeah,
he's like, you can't be on the computer anymore. You're having an interview. Damn it.
Yeah, he saw that he was just on Instagram reacting.
No, there's like a I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry, I'm poor.
My hard drive.
Yeah, my audio doesn't work on my computer. Please donate for José's birthday fund so he can buy a computer. It's driving me crazy, man. Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay.
You solved it.
So, anyways, I'm going to be upfront. I went to Disneyland and Angels. Like, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I went to Angels. I went to Disneyland about a couple weeks ago, and then I just went to Angel Stadium this past weekend. And before that, I was boycotting. I mean, because it was pandemic, you can go.
It made it easy.
But also, I was just like, no, I'm not going to these games. But anyways, it's compartmentalization. But it is frustrating, and I can't stop thinking all the time. While I was there, I'm like, Shohei Ohtani, he's a great player. Like his story, the Japanese Babe Ruth, like just crazy, right? What he's doing. Also true. Like I hate what all of this represents as far as like for the taxpayers of Anaheim and how Artie Moreno has been able to like just get away with so much stuff, and so many other players. So, but let's go into perhaps another subject, housing. So there's a certain situation happening now in the pandemic when the eviction moratorium is ending. In Anaheim, was able to have some funds, albeit like for a short period, and perhaps not as much as other cities had for rent subsidies during that time. But now there is a real situation happening nationwide where there's going to be a lot of evictions from folks that were not able to, to qualify for those programs or just have not been able to really get a job and get things going now that the pandemic is lifting. So, it was a challenging situation, particularly in Anaheim. But how do you see that playing out now? And do you see any hopes of like something similar to what Santana's about to do, a rent control situation or some sort of support for affordable housing or for the tenants of Anaheim in the near future?
I'm hopeful, but not optimistic. At least not until 2022, when there's a possibility of voting out the current mayor, voting out the current interest, replacing 2 council members with more people-centered, family-concerned council members. So I'm hopeful and optimistic. The council just appointed to replace Jordan Brandman, just appointed Gloria, who is very much aligned with historically and present with the resort interests and the Chamber of Commerce. So I don't see, she might shock the world, but I don't see it because she's never come to advocate for these issues. She's come to advocate at City Council on a lot of other issues like $700 million in corporate tax giveaways, tax exemptions for Disney. It's really get tough on the homeless, throw the police at them approach, and throw the police at anything in Anaheim and everything in Anaheim. So I don't see it in the next year, but it's, frankly, like in most communities, our communities will have to rise. Right now, actually, I shouldn't even say right now, pre-COVID, we already had 15,000 households who were essentially one paycheck away from homelessness. 15,000 households who were what are called high rent burden, which means that over 50% of their income was going to housing. So if they lose that income or it gets reduced in any way, that completely threatens their housing.
Yeah.
Not to mention that they can't spend money on other essentials that they may have. So that situation's been with us for a while. We have a great opportunity in the housing element, but it's going to really take people to rise up again. And certainly this time around, we certainly cannot count on our institutional friends to provide resources. Unfortunately, the experience in Anaheim is that there's a lot of wheeling and dealing and political pieces and treaties and truces that are made And there may be some good things that come out of that, but by and large, it doesn't impact the systems that people are about to experience, which is going to be mass, unless landlords, I should say landlords, just corporate landlords is what they are for the most part. If they don't somehow find a heart and or see that it's not to their own interest to evict people, and we're going to see mass evictions like we're looking at across the country. But certainly Anaheim, we're going to get hit pretty hard with this.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate, and you bring up the issue about the appointment of Gloria. I'm not really sure, and neither is in my. Yeah, so I knew that woman since high school. Her daughter was on in band with me, so that's my first experience of her. But then years later, I see her at council, and I'm just like, oh, I know her. And then I started hearing her talk. I'm like, wait, whose team is she on? Like, oh no. So yeah, and a lot of speeches, kind of touting a lot of the tourism lobby and special interests, in support. And I remember her on district elections. She was on and it was touted, right? I mean, there was articles by Voice of OC and Orange Juice blog, like talking about it. But the Orange Juice blog definitely gave more context and, just said that she was on, people touted her involvement on that advisory committee, the districting, as if it was some great accomplishment when all she did there was just, derail and, procrastinate and just really stall the process of getting it. And, in the process, $3 million of taxpayer money was wasted in this process, to try to get district elections. So, yeah, and she was a part of SOAR, part of, all sorts of lobbies that have been, just really in cahoots with the current mayor and the current council majority. So, and you and Councilman Avellino, did not vote for her, right? Stood back because you were complaining about the process. And so, can you tell us a little bit about that? And I mean, where do we go from Jordan Brandman to Gloria Mae? Hasn't much changed, except that the D to the R, but otherwise, perhaps not much.
Well, I think it has changed, and I think it's a healthy place for Jordan Brandman to not be on city council, and I don't mean that in a political way. I mean that for him. I think it's healthy for him to be able to just kind of step out of the light and just kind of focus on his health and his own well-being and just get well. And by that, I don't know if he has any illness. I don't know. All I know is that someone who writes those kind of texts, and then having talked to him a little bit, the pressures are pretty intense. So if anything, with Gloria being appointed, it just further hopefully shows the people of Anaheim what we were seeing in 2010, 2011, 2012. This waggard way of operating. They're just the hubris. They don't care. They're very explicit. And then they try to convince us that we're not seeing what we're actually seeing, right? The mayor argued it was a fair and transparent process. I think he said it was the most transparent process in Anaheim's history as it relates to political appointments, which is absolutely living in a different dimension, a different reality, a different Zoom room. He was in a breakout room somewhere because that's just not what was playing out. But again, we have an election in 2022. If you look at it from a partisan standpoint, we went from an R to a D. In that district, it's 2-1 registration, Democrats to Republicans. There's no reason why Gloria or people that have a philosophy like Gloria, which is to pursue and support corporate interests with trickle-down economics, to act deferential to a multinational corporations, that somehow they're doing us a favor by simply living and being and existing as a corporation, which ignores the fact that the people of Anaheim, we have invested, once paid out with these bonds, $1.5 billion to building up the resort infrastructure. That's what Disney got from us. We're the ones that should be grateful. They've turned that investment, of course, into billions of dollars in profit for themselves. But I'll tell you, this is something that will ultimately get folks, hopefully, more focused on the egregious nature of these interests. And if Gloria or Councilwoman Mae now, actually she hasn't been sworn in, so she's not Councilwoman yet. She'll be sworn in on the 28th. So Gloria, Miss Gloria, and the rest of the council that will continue to double down on Disney, their corporate PAC money, and all of their surrogates and tentacles, along with the Chamber of Commerce and the building trade, is, most people haven't realized this yet. 5 years ago, Disney, in their interest to look like they're pro-community, they do make some really powerful investments, partnerships like playgrounds and whatnot. They did one that was pretty exciting. They promised every sixth grader a day at Disneyland if they participated in a community service project in their sixth grade, which is great for kids, right? No, Joesé, you shouldn't feel guilty for going to Disneyland. I mean, why not, right? You gotta live, you gotta enjoy life. And I'm sure workers were happy to see you because they go to work.
Thanks.
Right? But they promised a 10-year program with our sixth graders that every sixth grader for 10 years will get a chance to go to Disneyland for free.
Yeah.
Right? For a day with their classmates. They just announced after 5 years that they're cutting that program because of cost-cutting measures. They can't afford it, they said. All the while, I'd love to look at the books of how much the CEO is making this year, how much the presidents and vice presidents and associate vice presidents and directors are making. They're not losing money on that end. And of course, the prices of tickets are shifting. In the last recession, the big recession, we saw tickets go from $64 at the beginning of the recession in 2007 to $105 by 2014, by the end of the recession. It went up 40%.
Yeah.
So I don't anticipate Disney, honestly, going belly up or even struggling financially as much as they might say. But how much does it really cost to allow every sixth grader in Anaheim to go to Disneyland? It's not going to break your bank. And now what they did was they made a promise to sixth graders that they just broke. And I just hope that moms and dads and tios and tias and families and schools and educators all see that and are like, wait a minute, who is going to align with that company now, right? They lie to our kids. So I hope that, that'll be enough to light up the fire and get things going in 2022.
Oh, yeah. Hope so. I had a couple of follow-up questions on that appointment issue. I was wondering, could the council have chosen to take another means to replace Jordan Brandman? Or did they they just fulfill the bare minimum option? Or what happened there?
So our charter, some cities are charter cities, so we have our own constitution that governs us. And our charter says that we would appoint, but if we can't come to a decision after 60 days, it goes to a special election. So the council chose to interpret that, and I supported that interpretation. Well, I don't know if I supported an interpretation. I just supported the idea of going to an application process. The position, if we went to an election, the election would be sometime in November, maybe December, so we're really talking about spending $300,000 so that someone could sit on a seat for 8 months, most of which they may likely be spending campaigning. Keep the seat. So in terms of going through that theater of an election and spending that kind of money, given the deficits that we're in addition, those kind of elections have very, very low turnout, super low turnout. Right. So if you have a well-funded candidate that the interest that we have would coalesce around, I think we just saw the actual appointment, then basically you're spending $300,000 to have $300,000 spent in a campaign to elect a person. So to me, just I didn't want to do this falsity of what would have been. It wasn't worth the cost.
Right.
And so to me, the appointment process, if it had been done as was promised, would have probably been quite powerful to select someone that really was looking to serve the interests of the people of Anaheim, rather than serve the interests and hope those interests trickle down to the people of Anaheim.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they could have at least waited to the next meeting. But I wonder also, just curious about the.
Well, I did, Dylan, on that point, I did a couple of things that were voted down by the council.
Right.
When we first decided to do an application and they gave us a timeline that people would have 2 weeks to apply, I said, well, that's a pretty short window, but we had to appoint someone by October 4th, or else they'd have to go to an election.
Right.
So I said, okay, to the 2-week timeline. And then I asked, can we have a special meeting, like they did in Huntington Beach, to allow every applicant to come before the city council and have 5 or 10 minutes to kind of introduce themselves to the public.
Right.
And then at the next meeting of the council, make a decision, right? That way you allow at least some opportunity for the people of District 2 to come in.
Right.
After all, none of us live there. None of us spend most of our time there. So why not at least allow an opportunity?
Right.
The council voted that down. They voted, the mayor emphatically said, we will not have a special meeting. Like, this is the most important thing we could do. Is appoint a council member.
Yeah.
And he would not take the time. So we did it during a regular meeting, a regular public comment. They got 5 minutes. And then last minute, he decided to tell us, y'all can ask questions if you like. So none of the candidates were prepared to answer questions. They weren't told that they might be asked questions. I took the opportunity to ask a lot of questions with the candidates. But again, there was no way to get feedback from people in District 2 what they thought about those answers. What did they think about these candidates, these applicants? So Avelino Valencia felt the same way for other reasons in that process, and we both abstained on the vote.
Right. And can you explain the difference between like a no vote versus the abstention? Is there a big distinction?
So no vote is
there?
you're opposing the motion, and an abstention is I'm not necessarily opposing an appointment. An abstention is I'm not gonna have my vote count towards this process. I'm not going to legitimize the process by voting in it, either yes or no. So that's what it was for me. For some folks, they'll abstain when you're talking about appointing commissioners, or in this case, council member, because they don't want to vote against the person. They don't want people feeling like, oh, you didn't like that person. And so that's also partly my rationale too, is I don't think Gloria is the best council person of the applicant pool that was before us. But I also don't want people to feel like, oh, I just didn't like her, right? So I wasn't voting against Gloria. It was, I didn't want to participate. I didn't want to legitimize my vote process.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, and that's fair, and it should, folks that are looking at this in the future or in any moment, should be able to put aside their personal feelings and just kind of feel like if we could have an open and transparent process and everybody can feel good about this, at least everybody had an honest, a legitimate opportunity to make their case for why they should be on the council. But, of course, they didn't want to waste any time. We got bills to pass. We got, campaign, contributors to make happy. Like we just, come on, let's go. And yeah, definitely don't want to dismiss, the real harm that the text and all of that situation made. It wasn't just about, political parties or even, and that is not in any way political, although it many times gets made political. But in this regard, yeah, it's just about who is, if Brandman was not able to serve anymore in the capacity that he did, and, and the reasons for why he made that decision when he initially was very dismissive about the situation, and it lingered for months, and even Democratic Party, folks and other folks of the leads of institutions were not very gung-ho about, or we're not as adamant as jumping on this matter as they were on other things, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, I do sense that that this was a bygone decision already.
Yeah, but that point is a really important one that I don't think a lot of folks are at least not talking about. Maybe they're whispering about it. But when it's a really incredible thing, you have a council member where it's made public these really horrific texts that for most other electeds, everybody immediately unites and say, you got to go, right? But what was fascinating about this one is you have a Democrat who does these things. The Republican Party of Orange County doesn't say a word. About it. corporate
And says they won't take a lead on it until at the
Yeah.
end they did and took credit for it.
Yeah,
Taking a lead on it.
Council didn't say a word, right? The business committee didn't say a word. The police association didn't say a word. Fire didn't say a word. Public employees didn't say a word. The association. The Democratic Party didn't say a word for 6 weeks. In fact, the leadership was saying we shouldn't name Mr. Brandman in a resolution to censure him. Like nobody wanted to deal with it. It was pretty astounding. And you got to ask yourself, why would that be? Why is this one person so important that every interest was saying, we're not going to say a word?
Yeah.
But then, within a matter of a day or two, all of a sudden, the Democratic Party wants to have an executive committee meeting to demand his resignation. The mayor, all of a sudden, demands his resignation. And then other people started jumping in. So from one day to the next, you got to ask yourself, what happened? He didn't do anything different. We tried to agendize having him being censured at city council. I did, and the council wouldn't even give me a second to agendize it.
No.
I wouldn't even discuss it. In fact, the mayor said, he's getting help, he's good. And the Democratic Party wouldn't push through a resolution to name him. And the Republicans were totally silent. You got to ask yourself, who is really benefiting from Mr. Brandman, or who was benefiting so much? And could the theory out there that, well, perhaps they were just buying time to consolidate on a candidate they wanted to appoint. So maybe they finally decided, okay, this is going to be the person. They convinced the person they wanted.
Yeah.
Now we have an alternative. Okay, you got to go, Mr. Brandman, because we have an alternative.
Yeah, we found someone better. So now you can be removed. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he's he fell fine. I'm sure he's gonna get a job, and and somewhere in the industry that had helped him for so long. So as you said, I really do hopefully believe that folks that are dealing with stuff get help and get rehabilitation and redemption is real, but also you can't help but see that in this whole situation, it was politicking, and and it's just something that it's not a Republican or Democrat. It's just the situation of human beings, kind of acting in sorts of ways, giving the situations. But yeah, I definitely was fully demoralized by the party in that particular situation, and just in so many others. So then it just kind of really begs the question, like, when some issues, when is it? Is something good or wrong because it's good or wrong, or is it because it's is it inconvenient truth? Is it like a situation where politically this is not going to benefit you and to make the right decision, or because that when the case of that happened with Jeff Letourneau and the message that he sent, talking about his Ho Chi Minh or whatever, which. He posts a lot of controversial or edgy stuff, but that one in particular really pissed off a lot of people. And man, they couldn't organize that that press conference fast enough. And and everybody, everybody was there. Yeah. But this thing, oh no, let's wait it out. Let's see what's happening here.
Yeah.
Lou Correa came out strong on Jeff on that one with the moral high ground. He didn't say a word on Jordan Brandman talking about cutting off the breast of a councilwoman.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I guess transitioning into the transition.
Smooth.
I feel like the gloves are coming off.
Smooth.
I got no strings on me. Liberating. I went to an event not too long ago, and I thought to myself, I used to go to this church. I know the preacher. I know everybody in the choir. I used to sing in the choir. I used to hold, the chalice and organize the sound here and invited people here. I don't go here anymore. That's okay. But I'm still here. And the work continues. So just because you're not going to be on the council, Dr. Moreno, doesn't mean that you're not going to continue to fight for all the things that you've been fighting even before you went on council. So what is it like? Are you looking forward to it? Are you kind of like, like bittersweet? What are your thoughts as far as like your future post council?
Well, it looks like I have a choice to run for Congress and remove a really a council member, a Congress member who has pulled the wool over so many eyes, is very comfortable with children in cages in the Middle East, but wants to talk about children in cages here on our border. That's one option that a lot of folks are talking about.
Woo! Who's that? Who's that congressperson?
Who takes a lot of gas, fossil fuel, Wells Fargo, who funds private detention centers throughout the country, has single-handedly almost in California and in the nation reduced the momentum and mitigated the momentum for Medicare for all, or in California, universal health care. Just a really bad lawmaker. I don't know the man well enough to know whether I like him or not. So I know people say, you don't like Lou. I don't like Lou the politician, because that's all he is. And he represents everything that is that I think is hurtful to our young people as they look at politics. They see a Latino who speaks our language, speaks to our issues sometimes, and is proud of his background. But then when it comes to lawmaking and policy making, he disappears when it comes to issues that really matter on the ground. His office staff are great staff. They provide a lot of social services, great services, specific services. But that's the second part of the job. The first part of the job is lawmaking, the bully pulpit, and it's not there. So that's an option. The other is our assembly member.
Coming for you.
Our assembly member, Tom Daly, who just struggles to connect to the realities of the people of the 69th Assembly District. He's my assembly member. I just don't see him fighting, advocating on the ground. Again, he has good staff that may do some good work, but he is a lawmaker. It's a struggle. If you got to organize as much to get him to vote for the right things, like protecting mobile home renters, like protecting apartment renters, protecting our school kids, providing resources necessary in our social service agencies, and getting farm workers overtime pay. Like, if you got to lobby that guy for hours just to get farm workers overtime pay, something's wrong. He's totally the wrong person to represent this district. And so there's a lot of options. So if you're looking for me to announce something, I'm not.
There's options.
Options. I like these options.
But as you said, this work of city council and politics for me, I've been in it for a little while now, has always been mission driven. So when people say, why are you willing to say that, or what, push against special interest, even when it doesn't meet your own political campaign interests? So because that's not why I campaign, that's not why I entered politics. I've always tried to operate in the way that I wish others would. So when I sit in the chambers, when I used to sit in the council chambers, I would sit there and say, I wish somebody would ask this. Why aren't they asking this? And they wouldn't, because they were afraid of Disney or the trades or other labor unions, or they're afraid of some other interest, particularly the corporate special money interest. They were afraid to say a word. And so I said, man, somebody has to say it. Somebody has to at least act it, say it, be it, at least provide an alternative version to the reality we live in Anaheim. So I've always tried to operate that way. When I was on the school board, I did the same thing, because my thing is education and equity and justice. So that was really important to me. So the mission was there before being on these elected positions. The mission will be there after. Los Amigos is another space that just I'm really looking forward to re-engaging in a way that I think can help the community that much more through Los Amigos. We do a lot of good work already, because so many people do great work in there. So of course I'll stay working in that space, and then we'll see what else.
Man. Well, I'm sorry. I'm still very excited about the first option.
Yeah.
That option. It's like,
you're
coming for you, Lou.
You're preaching. Oh
man, yeah. That guy. can't throw events in Orange County without that dude just like muzzling himself in. Like, hey, who invited Lou? Like, did you? No, like he just showed up with this table and this stuff, and here he is taking the mic again, and yep, there's pictures time, photo op champ.
So let me say something about. There's a comment going about Doug Chafee. I'm endorsing and supporting Doug Chafee.
All right. You're here to hear.
And if he wasn't running, I would look at that. And of course, my option is that I love being a professor and I love being engaged and not having any strings, like you said, Joselda, I've never had any. But let me say something about Doug Chafee, because I know that there's a lot of rancor towards him because he's not there's things that he's doing that I really wish he would do different, of course. But I'll tell you, as a council member in Anaheim over the last year and a half, Doug Chafee and his office have saved thousands and thousands of lives in Anaheim. You just can't overlook that. Did he not vote the right way on this ballot initiative to give themselves more time on the supervisors? No, that was wrong what he did. Did he vote? Is he somehow getting in the way of Katrina Foley trying to do her thing? Possibly. We don't know the inside story, but possibly, right? But at the end of the day, in the issue of our time over the last year and a half, that man saved thousands of lives, he and his staff. I was begging our city in Anaheim. I was begging the special interests of Anaheim. Please help people in Anaheim, our hardest hit neighborhoods, Latino, immigrant, essential workers. Nobody was pressing hard enough. I couldn't even get my city to enact a health task force on COVID because our mayor wanted to focus on giving millions of dollars to the resort industry to visit Anaheim, $7 million, and do minimal investments in rent relief, minimal investments in food distribution. Doug Chafee's office allowed me to help work with them to figure out through our schools with Al-Jabbar is the deputy chief of staff, to really go in and do what the people in Anaheim needed in terms of their health. And anybody who puts our health before anything else, to me, has a lot of capital, a lot of political and social capital with me. A lot of people are alive today because of that work. Would he take bad votes? Yes. So I could not in good conscience look to remove him as a supervisor because he did what we needed when we needed him most. And I can't say that for any other elected at the state or federal level. I can't say that. Here in our county, can't say that.
Wow.
Lou sent home some really nice flyers. He voted with the Democratic Party at the federal level for the Federal CARES Act. That's great, but Lou, you needed to do that because Pelosi told you to, because we know that he just does what he's told. And the special corporate interest wanted that as well. It was not a risky vote in Orange County. What Doug Chafee did was, the county supervisors did not want the mass vaccinations that occurred. At least they weren't showing it, and he did it.
Credit where credit's due.
Yeah, I think it's tough, folks that are thinking the opposite of you or saying, like, you would do a much better job, Dr. Moreno, or I just can't live down or forget about the things that he's done in regards to this or that and third. But as you mentioned, in a moment where you were not getting any sort of help from this, your mayor or from the mayor from the city of Anaheim and from other electeds, he was there, and that cannot be dismissed. And we're talking about potentially life-saving help. So yeah, and I think that's the challenge of politics sometimes too. Like how many bad decisions did that person make where they're like, okay, that person's bygone, they're unsalvageable, right? Or whereas that's how I feel about a certain congressman. But in other places, I'm like, well, I don't think I'm not a huge fan here, but lesser evil type of thing. But yeah.
But if Lou Correa, when he was in the state Senate, he was one of 3 senators that voted against universal health care in California from 8-10 years ago. If he had advocated for this district the way he should have, because we are amongst the highest uninsured districts in the state of California, let alone the country, if he had done that, thousands of lives would have been saved. Thousands would have been saved. So Lou Correa can come and tell me he loves being an immigrant. He loves immigrant families. He helps individuals, which is great.
He's supposed to. That's his job.
He's awesome. So that you're doing your job.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, If we're talking about lives and you're just indifferent to that because your pharmaceutical, your hospital associations, and your big, huge health.
Oh, you cut out there for a sec.
Your big health subsidy.
Industry folks are telling you, let's do, 20% of people in Anaheim don't have access to health insurance.
Yeah.
20% in Orange County, 20% nationally. That stays consistent. And Lou Correa has done nothing except follow the lead of corporate healthcare industry and lobbyists to do the minimum.
Yeah, to be fair, Lou Correa has saved lives, at least one life when he put out that fire on the freeway. Remember that? I thought there was this one story where he pulled over and put out a fire. So I saw that in the newspaper.
Oh, I remember that.
He takes a direct approach to saving lives, just one at a time.
Yeah, no, we've talked about it a bunch on this, and at least half of the shows on It's Happening.
Yeah,
I think we're known for this. Lou Correa will give you toys for Christmas and Thanksgiving turkeys, but Lou Correa will vote for policies that make you depend on Lou Correa for said turkeys and
what I worry about is kind of like it was the Loretta Sanchez effect, maybe 4 years, 6 years after she got elected. When she first got elected, she was awesome. But then you get the celebrity status. And so what it is that what's frustrating in our community, I think, and I'm not very popular for thinking this way or acting this way. It's like they work for us, man. We shouldn't get excited and thrilled that we got a picture with them. We shouldn't be excited or thrilled that they actually showed up to our local community event. That's awesome that they do that. But at the end, you got to follow the votes. You got to follow the interests because that's what we hire them to do. We don't hire them to be social workers, to be psychologists. We don't. We let them to make laws and pass budgets and engage in leadership about making sure that resources come in systemic ways. He's done okay in that and following the current leadership of the Democratic Party at the national level. But I'll say this, and if you want to move from Lou, I'm happy to.
Yeah.
Back when Democrats were in the minority in the House, he co-sponsored Medicare for All. He was on board because he knew it wasn't going to come for a vote. The moment the Democrats took a majority, and then you got the presidency, he's now saying, I got to study the bill. He's been studying it for about 8 months to a year now. Got to study the bill. And you just were co-author of it, co-sponsored like 6 months ago. What happened?
It's a big bill.
Study the bill. Not to mention the Palestinian children in cages under Israeli military occupation, that he refuses to say that our foreign aid should not go to caging children in military tribunals. It's horrible. So people got to follow that, and not just the IG pictures, but follow the votes and follow the pattern that he has in the legislature.
Yeah, absolutely. With friends like these, who needs enemies? All right, so big decisions for Dr. Moreno. Options, although
some good options.
One not an option as far as the supervisor is concerned, but Al-Jabbar is apparently announced today that he's running. So what for your council seat, right, in the near future? Big shoes to fill, but Al seems to be the guy. But is Al going to be the guy for every guy and gal and person is the question, right? Is he going to get support from the people that he's been there for and counting on school board? Now he's jumping into the bigger pond. But is he going to have your support and the support of other folks in the community?
I support Al 100%. He's walked the talk. He's taken on the interest. He's come to city council to speak out against big corporate interests and the giveaways and Harry Sadu's politics. He's come and taken that on, even though he knows that some of the friends that may support him politically don't like that, right? There are folks that support Al-Jabbar that certainly cannot stand the side of me and or the positions I've taken and that I've advocated for. Al has never cowered from supporting some of those things, and actually all of those things that I've done. And he also carries himself well in sustaining relationships, even when there's political differences. So as a school board member, I mean, look what he's done. I mean, again, saved thousands of lives as the deputy chief of staff for Doug Chafee. He was the lead person on that. He had the relationship to make sure that we knew exactly where those clinics needed to be and where they were needed. He was he was just aggressively advocating, unapologetically is really what I'm looking for here. But before that, I mean, he pushed district elections in AUHSD back in the day. So he actually the one who pushed and got, and along with Emery Randall Trejo and the rest of the board, to do a bi-district election system in Anaheim Union High School District. He supported and advocated for ethnic studies in Anaheim Union, which is now in place. He had supported the move away from testing in our school districts, so they're not cowering away from the idea that our schools are bad, they have bad test scores. He goes, no, I challenge you to go into our classroom and tell me if our teachers aren't doing a great job teaching what really matters: critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and other, we call them the 5 C's. So it's really about what makes people people and what will make us prepared for a 21st century society, both ethnically, culturally, socially, and economically. So you just couldn't ask for me, a better person to represent me as a parent in this district, certainly to hopefully continue the work of advocating for families first and foremost and residents and fighting for them and never backing down from advocating for our families. So I just can't think of anyone that lives in my district that has done more for the district and for our kids and families and residents, and who would do more. I think he'll do a much better job than I have, for sure, because he's been doing it a long time and he's vested. He's got 3 children in our public schools, in the dual language immersion program, learning Spanish. He knows that what matters for people is getting to know each other culturally and across multiple lines. So he's just perfect. I mean, he's the perfect candidate at the right time. I can't say enough for him. And his integrity is impeccable. You cannot buy Al-Jabbar. You just can't. And I hope that people really, that should be the limits, ultimate limits of any elected official. Can this person be bought? Can they be convinced by holding them to their own ambition, which happens to a lot of elected? Well, you could be an assembly member if you just back off of this. You could be a congressman if you just back off of this and get hundreds of thousands of dollars from the healthcare industry. I don't see Al-Jabbar ever compromising his integrity and the integrity of the people for any interest other than what's best for them. After speaking with him, he also reaches out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say enough. I can talk
It sounds like it.
Glowing review.
Yeah, I agree with all of it except for the part that he would do a better job than you, good sir. Although, if he has the opportunity to be there longer than you, if he gets 2 full terms of 4 years. But beyond that, not to make, and because this is not the end in any ways. And as you mentioned, there's options. But as far as as far as this show, we've been on for 6 years. So basically the whole time you've been on the council, although, you and I worked together during around that time when you got elected the second time around. And so I just can't say enough about the work that you have done as far as a trailblazer and the social capital that you brought with you that was based on years and years of individually helping so many individuals, you yourself and through Los Amigos, that created that movement that literally broke down the doors, and other folks joined in, and because it made sense and so on, and that make district elections happen in Anaheim. Whether or not that coalition still remains today is another question, but beyond that, what remains today is your resolve and your inability to be bought by anyone. Speaking of who can be bought and who cannot, so you're a standard bearer when it comes down to it, and you're our Bernie locally. Again, so yeah, I just want to definitely uplift all of the great work that you've done, good sir.
I appreciate that, Joesé. I'll say that what I learned a lot over the years and what kept fueling a way of being is that that our elders and our young people are watching. And our elders had a dream, right? They had a vision of what they wanted out of civil rights, out of social movements that they helped develop and construct and take hold in breaking down some of those walls. So there's a promise that we have to live to that, right? But at the same time, they maybe had to do things that maybe I wouldn't agree with because they had to for the sake of survival. But maybe they compromised some things they shouldn't have. But at the time, there was no compromise to be made. They had to do what they had to do. So I feel that way about some of our local electeds now that have been in the game for 20, 30 years. One of them being our congressman, right? So I feel like I'm in some ways part of that second wave of, okay, well, we don't have to behave in that way anymore. It's a different Orange County. And I learned this through the Dreamers. Joesé, you remember we both were witness to the Orange County Dream Team and the undocumented, unafraid, unapologetic, right? This whole idea of unapologetic and unafraid. So if undocumented people, of which I was one, we were very afraid. We were very apologetic in my generation.
I was too.
Right? We just we didn't dare for fear of deportation.
Yeah.
That generation of the Dream Team of the early 2000s said enough, right? Enough of our parents suffering for what they suffer just to see their children now suffer. That's not why they came here. We owe something to them. And they said, we no longer will be afraid and we will be unapologetic. And that is the ethos that I hope we can all look at our electeds, our nonprofit leaders. David operated that way, just unafraid and unapologetic. If you're fighting for human rights, if you're fighting for the basic daily, why would you be apologetic in this day and age? So I hope that that's an ethos that I helped continue and sustained what the Dream Team did in Orange County. When Loretta wouldn't sign on, when other electeds wouldn't sign on, and they asked me as a school board member, you're going to sign on, right? Yeah. I mean, if you're going to be unapologetic, unafraid, yeah, that inspires us all. So I hope that's the standard. I hope that we've helped cement, right? A standard of being unafraid and unapologetic when it comes to people. If you compromise the interests of the people, then ¿pa qué estás?
Pa hacer dinero, compa, ¿qué más? La ley de Herodes, el que no chifla jode. Yeah, basically, like, get yours because everybody's getting theirs. Yeah, that's, business as usual. But again, refreshing, a fresh breath air you have been, and you will continue to be. And so, hopefully wishing the best for Al. But also you have a whole, people forget, it's like, yeah, this guy, he's a professor, been professor for 16 years at Cal State Long Beach, planting seeds and fueling the passions and the visions of a whole new generation, beyond just the work that, you do at Los Amigos to, keep folks civically engaged and carry on, David's legacy. And like you said, like, it takes a village, as my good pal here says
My
all
line.
the time. Yeah. It's not just you. Like, let's not make celebrity worship out of our politicians and our community leaders and prop them up on these pedestals that make them demigods out of it. They're just like us, and if nothing, but they should inspire us to, seek our own, place in the world in this here change business. So yeah, humble as always, but also, just truly inspiring. Dr. Moreno is. So,
True.
Final comments, good sir, before we bid you adieu. We talked, I feel like I talked about mostly everything I wanted to talk to you, and we're ending on a really positive note, I feel.
Yeah.
As once we got out of the way, that guy, local Voldemort. Yeah, so I'm very much enthusiastic and hopeful to hear what's next in your political career. But you've done so much in such a short time, and so even if that were all, we would be very well off in Anaheim. And yeah, so final comments, good sir. What you got? Anything to plug or anything to add to our conversation?
I didn't like the way you just framed that.
Final comments for this show.
No, yeah.
I know.
Final public comment.
You got any last words?
If you don't continue the political career, well, we know you'll still keep doing good things. No, it's the other way around. One might actually argue that not being in a political space, formal political space, might actually allow us to do even more work, to do even better work. And that's why I think that's why Al-Jabbar and others who might join the city council or become mayors can actually do a better job. Because I think our work is to keep building up the barrio, the village, the voice, keep building capacity so that we don't depend on the Democratic Party, we don't depend on the Republican Party, we don't depend on corporate institutions or labor institutions, we depend on our collective voice. And ultimately, they should be the ones depending on us, the people, right? And that's what government's supposed to be about. So no, leaving or not being in political office is not like, well, hopefully you'll do something good. No, on the contrary, we might actually be able to keep doing things better to then be able to have more power to support someone like Al-Jabbar to do even better things, to support whoever takes District 2 away from Gloria Mae and the special interest, do even better things. Whoever takes the mayorship from Harry Sadu can do even better things. And that's true for our city, but also for our county and certainly in other politics. But locally, and then our school boards, the great work they're doing. We know that the conservative elements are coming after them because of ethnic studies, because of critical race theory. So all of the, ironically, analysis of critical race theory, interest convergence is happening on the conservative end. And we have to fight that interest convergence they have and bring our convergence of interest together through people. So I'm very optimistic.
Yeah.
That I'll be able to continue in the mission and actually look forward to working with Los Amigos and continuing that work to help people, but then analyze systems when we see so many people suffering and struggling, then you elevate a systems analysis and really can make some powerful change. So that's the way we're going to do it.
The struggle continues.
I hope you enjoy your retirement. I'm just kidding. You really peaked in 2021. I remember. No, not at all.
He had such a future.
Yeah.
I mean, remember, I'm a Chicano studies professor. I get to work with young people and people returning to school, people leaving incarceration that will be supported to come back to school. You just keep elevating minds and consciousness towards being responsible, unapologetic human beings. I'm really excited about that, to continue that work, not to do it, not to start it, but to continue that work.
100%. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's just, more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to create change, and it's just not just, elected. That's not a, it's like, it's not about, this is not the peak. Right, like I got to the peak. It's like no, that was just one. There's like the next peak going, and so more.
Why you gotta be violent about cats?
Yeah, where did that come from anyway?
I know.
Yeah, it's not PC.
We should probably go. Okay, all right.
Pet friendly.
There's more than one way to open a beer bottle.
Yeah, I relate to that.
There's more than one way to make a burrito.
Hey.
There, now I like that even more.
Fighting words.
I'm getting hungry.
I know. All right. That's enough. So the best is yet to come.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I want to also personally thank you for the work you've done and will continue to do, being a former student and everything. So.
Yeah.
Dang,
oh, yeah.
Alumni.
The legacy continues. Yeah.
Oh, so it's your fault.
Yeah. I wasn't woke at the time when I took your class, so I was like, what are they talking about?
Damn.
But it plants seeds, you know what I'm saying? And it takes time to change minds. So,
well, yeah. Keep planting seeds.
It also takes water, right? To fertilize, allow it to grow. And so,
yes.
So Dylan is just so excited about all the work you're doing. And I mean, you guys with this show, right? 206 now, just it's ridiculous. Who would have thought? And you don't have to depend on traditional media, right? It's like there's a space, a platform where people in power will have to at least think twice about, like, well, what are those guys going to say if we do this? Who will they bring on the show to talk about this in an unfiltered way? That's powerful. That's what breaks what Gramsci would call the hegemony, right? That's what breaks the hegemony. is when there's spaces for people to have platforms to be heard. So thank you guys for holding this up.
Oh yeah, takes a village.
And for the invitations to join me.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
And by the way, I still have 14 months, by the way. So
Yeah, no, it's
there's a lot to do in 14 months to make a lot of people feel uncomfortable and other people hopeful and optimistic. So that's what we're doing for the 14 months.
too true.
I'm a good fight.
Oh,
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. We're just saying, like, because I don't know.
we might not have a show for a while, so that's why.
Hopefully not 14 months, but
Yeah.
the next when we come back around, we're gonna check in with you.
Yeah, we'll need to check in,
And and see what's good, because there's so much work to be done. Thank you so much once again. Most frequent guest, FFG, the one and only Dr. Joesé Moreno. Thank you once again, good sir.
Oh yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Woo!
It's Dr. Joesé F. Moreno.
Oh yeah, no, Dr. Joesé F. Moreno, the councilman.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah. You can go to Los Amigos every Wednesday
Oh,
at
yeah.
7:30.
Get some breakfast.
Get some delicious German breakfast.
Get some
Yeah.
sausages, maybe.
Sauerkraut. Yeah. Yeah. But it's gonna be sad because that place is not gonna be there anymore. But
Yeah.
it'll continue, no doubt. But yeah,
Yes.
super stoked at
Yes.
to have had Dr. Moreno on today.
Oh yeah, yeah. I do want to also, since we're doing so many affirmations, I do also want to thank Joesé for not asking. So what are you gonna do next? You know what I'm saying? Like to Dr. Moreno, right? 'Cause go to Disneyland, right? You avoided that one. So
What are you gonna do next? I'm
Yeah.
going to
maybe Disney World.
I know.
Maybe,
Maybe
go to Florida and have a vacation. for
Paris,
God's sake.
Disney, or Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Something.
I'm getting married, and I was legit pitching the idea of getting going on a honeymoon to every Disneyland in the world.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah.
there's
That'd be something.
Yeah. Speaking of Disney, I got a chance to take a picture next near Gavin Newsom recently, and
Near
like there
him?
was
Okay.
like I could have been like, hey,
That's weird.
from far,
Okay.
but there was like a crowd around him, and I'm like, I'm not fighting to have a picture with Gavin Newsom. The only person I'm fighting to get a picture with is Mickey Mouse or Pluto. That's it. Sorry, Gavin.
Yeah. Sorry. You're not. Yeah.
You're not
Not as lovable.
not as lovable. So much. My birthday is gonna be here in 2 days, so that's gonna be exciting.
Oh, damn.
Not really.
Well-
They get less exciting every year.
Yeah, you have to like throw your own birthday at a certain
Yeah,
point,
I was
you
like, come please.
You're like, where's my mom? Throw me a birthday.
And then we didn't get into it, but Gavin Newsom defended his recall. So yeah, he did it.
He-
Son of a bastard, he did it.
Yes.
We thought it was gonna be close. It was actually
Not very
at
close.
all. And so yeah, thanks Republicans. You made us waste
More money.
200,
When is-
300 million, close to 400.
When is there not a recall though? Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Every election, it goes election recall, election recall, election recall. I thought that's how the normal system goes.
Yeah. People were like, people were like this guy, Larry Elder and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
they're like, they really underestimated how much folks were Democrat here.
Yeah. They came out.
Everybody liked the governor. Everybody
Wow.
liked Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, it's me, the governor of California.
I think I even voted for it. No, I didn't. I couldn't vote at the time. But so they really misplayed their hand. But
true.
R.I.P. Republican Party.
Yes.
In California.
Oh yeah, and I was hoping maybe we could dedicate the show to Peter Katz, who passed away last month. Longtime Santa Ana guy, got a lot of stories. And a friend. So
absolutely. Rest in peace, rest in power.
Yes,
Peter
rest in
Katz,
peace.
always saw him at the council meetings in the front, at different city council committee meetings. Always there, always informed, always speaking up. For his values and for the things that he felt were the best for the city. So
right.
Condolences for the family. And we're going to continue passing the baton to the next generation.
Correct.
So, and a very very important council meeting happening tomorrow in the city of Santa Ana.
True.
First reading of the rent control ordinance. The powers that be are going to come out in force, of course, the landlords, the realtor associations, and all of their hired help to make statements against it and say it's going to be so terrible and it's going to be so bad. And we've heard it all before. I know the talking points like the back of my hand. But, the fact of the matter is this is a good thing. This is the right thing to do. And it's going to prevent a lot of displacement in Santa Ana. So big ups to all the folks that are supportive of it that we know. Councilwoman Taviet Fan, Mayor Sarmiento, Councilman Jonathan Hernandez, and Councilwoman Joesé Lopez seems the ones that are going to be supportive of it. So yeah, man.
Yeah, and this includes like rent control, eviction protections, legal aid, and there's one other thing, but there's a bunch of stuff they're going to be talking about. So.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. I mean, it's rent control is not one size fits all. You definitely have to make it make sense, and so
the in lieu fees,
right?
Reverting the in lieu fees back to $15 square foot.
Oh yeah,
yes.
Yeah, for housing.
So it's a lot of stuff.
So
email, call, attend.
You can do it through Zoom. Get on the queue and let your voice be heard because the fact of the matter is. Is going to be a good thing. And last thing I'll say on that is when our council members, when our elected officials, take risky, politically risky decisions that the special interests are going to be really, really mad and are going to really, really go after them. That's, we need to be able to back them up and be there for them, when it comes to re-elected them or fighting what very well seems to be several recall campaigns locally here because people are mad. And when I say people, I mean Jerry Serrano and all of the people that he is colluding with to be able to get his way at the expense of the people of Santa Ana. So,
well, it goes election recall.
Oh my gosh.
That's the order. I thought that's how it's supposed to be.
It is, and locally.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, big ups to all the people that have been fighting for rent control for so long, man. It seemed like a pipe dream just 10 years ago or even 5, but now we're on the verge of something magical. And frankly, one of my life goals locally, to be able to get this talk. I feel like on this show in particular, we talked it down, talked it to death, just, about all the things in the outs and stuff. But yeah, I'm just really stoked. Change takes time, too long for some people, but a change is gonna come. Oh man, we should have that as the song for. Oh no, they'll take us down.
Next, yeah, I know. Yeah.
I was born by the river in a little tent.
You're gonna get us taken down if you're on key.
It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh yes, it will. And I look down to my brother. Don't you tell me, please. Jamona.
Oh my God. Yes. Yeah,
all
you need
classics.
to just do that.
I know.
Yeah.
All right.
Bust that out.
So, I think we're wrapping it up here.
Yeah. We might take a break.
Yes.
Right. Let the audience know.
Yeah. So we're taking a hiatus. We'll see. We're changing studios. We're trying to figure out what's next with the show and
Sorry,
whatnot.
Ben.
Yeah. Sorry to our 3 super fans. Ben.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not goodbye. This is see you later. We're gonna revamp and we're gonna come back and keep bringing you the news because as long as folks continue to look towards us for the real news, the hard-hitting facts locally, and nationally, and then we're gonna continue to do this here magical thing in whatever which way we can. I mean, not as fancy, but still getting the word out there. So yeah.
True.
Definitely want to thank audio video engineer Edgar Silva I'll be putting down, scrambling,
Buttons, baby.
making moves,
Pressing those buttons.
making us look good, making us
Static
sound good.
IP address. Local static IP address, baby.
Fighting with bad Wi-Fi and all sorts of stuff.
Multiple operating systems set up, baby.
Yeah. But that's why he's gonna be one of my groomsmen. So is this guy, because they've. Yeah, Ohana mean family. That means no one gets left behind. Yeah. So yeah, all that. And obviously Dylan,
Yes.
a brother from another mother here, co-hostess with the mostest. Just doing all sorts of, the yin to my yang.
Oh, yeah.
The cheech to my chong. The sativa to my indica.
That's perfect.
The acid to my shrooms.
Getting psychedelic.
Woo! The D to my tizzle. The DM to my tizzle. Yes. There you go. Good times. So I thank everybody here that tuned in and was commenting. Vern, David Duran. All you
all the super fans.
all the beautiful people.
We'll be back.
Yeah.
With more.
Yeah, Wes. We'll be back. And for the meantime, stay informed. Go to your local city council. Email your representatives on the local, state, national level, because that's how we can do a little bit of this here called democracy. It only works if we are all involved. So from Joesé, Gloria, and all of us here on It's Happening family, until next time, very soon, we are signing off.
It's happening! Woo! Woo!
Para no ver lo que es verdad, te han engañado, no es libertad, lo que tú vives es vulgar, ser un esclavo sin descansar mientras que el burgués se aprovecha de tus labores, hay que luchar para vencer este sistema capital. Hay que leer